Good morning students. Today let us discuss about metal carbonyls. Okay. Now what are metal carbonyls? These are coordination compounds of transition metals with pi acid or pi acceptor ligand carbon monoxide. Okay. Carbon monoxide is known as pi acceptor ligand or pi acid. So details of this you are going to study later. Alright. So these are the compounds. What type of compounds? Coordination compounds, right, of transition metals. And what is the criteria or essential features? These are pi acid or pi acceptor ligands, like what? Carbon monoxides. Okay. Now what is the classification? They are classified into three types. Now which are the three types? Mononuclear carbonyls, binuclear carbonyls, and then polynuclear metal carbonyls. Okay. So what about mononuclear carbonyls? Mononuclear means one metal atom will be present, just like nickel, for example, tetracarbonyl nickel. Ligand is carbonyl ligand, metal atom is nickel. Okay, only one nickel atom. Similarly, pentacarbonyl ion, 5 carbonyl ligands and then one iron atom. Then binuclear, bi means 2. So, 2 metal atoms will be present, 2 Mn2, okay, Mn2, that means 2 Mn, manganese, and 10 decacarbonyl, okay, so 10 carbonyl ligands are present. Now, in case more than 2 metal atoms will be present, then they are called polynuclear metal carbonyls, okay, poly means more than 2. For example, Fe3CO 12 times, okay, so ligands are 12 times carbonyl ligand, and ion atoms 3 will be present. So that means more than 2. Okay. So they are classified under polynuclear metal carbonyls. Alright. The oxidation state of metals in these compounds may be 0 or low positive or negative. So the oxidation state of metals in all these compounds may be either 0 or low positive or negative. Okay. The pi acceptor or pi acid ligands are those ligands which possess vacant pi orbital in addition to lone pair of electrons. Now what are pi acid ligands or pi acceptor ligands? They contain vacant pi orbital. Okay. So these must contain vacant pi orbital in addition to what? Lone pair of electrons. Then they are called what? Pi acceptor or pi acid ligands. Okay. Next slide. Now they donate lone pair of electrons. So these will donate lone pair of electrons to the metal and form metal ligand sigma coordinate covalent bond. The vacant p orbital of the ligand accepts electrons from the filled metal orbital to form pi back bond. Okay. So these vacant p orbital of the ligand, they will accept, okay, electrons. From where they will accept electrons? From the metal orbital, okay, to form what? Pi back bond. So a pi back bond will be formed. Hence, these ligands are also called pi acceptor or pi acid ligands. Okay. Carbon monoxide is a weak Lewis base. Okay, it forms a strong bond to the metal. It acts as a weak Lewis base, and you must be knowing what is Lewis base. Okay. So it forms a strong bond with the metal. Now, what is pi acidity? The ability of the ligand, which is the ligand carbonyl ligand, the ability of the ligand to accept electron density into vacant pi orbital is called what? Pi acidity. Okay. Next line. Now let us see mononuclear metal carbonyls. How are these synthesized? So direct synthesis. So preparation methods. First one is direct synthesis. How they are prepared? By direct synthesis. Metal carbonyls are prepared by heating carbon monoxide with finely divided metal. Okay, you can take metal, but it must be in finely divided form, okay, fine powder form. So carbon monoxide will combine with the nickel, okay, in the presence of what? Temperature 298 means just lab temperature, forming what? Tetracarbonyl nickel. Okay. Similarly, iron will combine with the 5 molecules of carbon monoxide at lab temperature 298 Kelvin, giving pentacarbonyl ion. Okay. Now second method is reduction method. Metal salt is heated in the presence of carbon monoxide and is suitable reducing agent. So, metal chloride will be heated, metal salt is here, for example chromyl chloride heated with the carbon monoxide. Okay. So, in the presence of metal aluminum and solvent is benzene, you can see here C6H6, this aluminum chloride is not there, okay, not there. So, in the presence of benzene solid, you get hexacarbonyl chromium and then aluminum chloride. Alright. Next slide. Now, what are the properties? The most of the mononuclear metal carbonyls are, they are colorless liquids or they are solids, okay, at a low temperature. These undergo chemical reaction. Now, what are the chemical reactions shown by mononuclear metal carbonyls? First one is displacement reaction. Now, hexacarbonyl chromium reacts with benzene, C6H6 is benzene, to form monobenzene. So, one benzene molecule will introduce into the here this molecule. So, you get C6H6 Cr. Meantime, 3 carbon ligands will go, okay. So, tries CrCO3, at that those 3 carbon ligands form what? Carbon monoxide, okay, carbon monoxide. Next property is reduction. The metal is reduced in the presence of a suitable reducing agent and solvent, okay. Same example is given, hexacarbonyl chromium, tetrahydrofuran, okay, THF is tetrahydrofuran, giving what? Sodium, okay, giving sodium complex, okay. Now, how do you get this sodium complex? In the presence of sodium and mercury, this is missing here, sodium and mercury is missing, tetrahydrofuran and sodium amalgam, you can say NaHg. So, that sodium will combine with this, giving what? Na2CrO, it is not shown here, okay, sodium amalgam or sodium mercury acts as catalyst, that will combine with the hexacarbonyl chromium to give what? Na2CrCO5, alright, plus carbon monoxide, okay. Next slide. Now, let us see bonding in metal carbonyl. How do they bonding takes place in metal carbonyls? Carbon monoxide has got triple bond. So, you know that carbon monoxide has got triple bond with lone pair of electrons on both carbon. You can see here lone pair of electrons present in both carbon and oxygen atoms. Here one electron is should not be okay, removed, should be removed, okay, only 2 electrons, okay. So, this electron actually shifted here forming what? Triple bond, alright. When you write the electronic configuration of carbon and oxygen, you will find that there are 3 pairs of electrons, okay. 3 electrons belong to this carbon, okay, 2 carbon electrons, and then here 4 electrons belongs to oxygen, this should have been shifted here. So, you have a triple bond here, okay, triple bond here, and then you have what? Here one lone pair of electrons, okay. Now, the dative carbon monoxide has got triple bond, alright. The dative metal carbon bond is formed by the overlap of the filled orbital of carbon monoxide and suitable empty orbital of the metal. How is the dative bond is formed? It is formed by the overlap of filled orbital of carbon monoxide, filled orbital of carbon monoxide and empty orbital of the metal, okay. Next slide. Now, sigma overlap, how do we explain sigma overlap, okay, and pi overlap? Now, the formation of pi bond from metal to carbon of carbon monoxide, okay, takes place in this way. So, metal has got, okay, 2 lobes, one considered as positive lobe and one considered as negative lobe. Even carbon monoxide has got lobes, so the positive lobe will be combining with the positive lobe of metal, okay, axial overlap, therefore, we have sigma overlap, okay. So, carbon will donate a lone pair of electrons to the metal, okay, therefore, you have arrow mark towards metal atom. So, sigma overlap results in one carbon to metal bond, so this bond will be formed. Similarly, metal has got 2 positive lobes, okay, and then 2 negative lobes. Now, positive carbon on the other hand has got 1 positive, 1 negative, and oxygen has got 1 negative, 1 positive. So, positive lobe of metal combines with the positive or overlaps with the positive lobe of carbon, giving here sideways overlap. So, pi overlap, that is called, okay. Similarly, negative loop overlap, so pi sideways, so pi overlap. So here the lone pair of electrons from the metal atom will be given to one carbon. Okay, so metal carbon bond will be formed and the overlap is pi overlap, because sideways this is axial overlap. Okay, the filled metal d orbital overlaps with the vacant antibonding pi molecular orbital of carbon. Okay, this results in the formation of metal CO bond. So this is called back bonding. So what is back bonding? The metal to carbon monoxide bond is formed, that is called back bonding or back donation. Next line. The formation of dative bond tends to increase the electron density on the metal atom. So electron will be donated to the metal atom, so that will increase electron density on the metal atom. Okay. So the formation, whereas the formation of pi bond form from metal to carbon tend to decrease electron density of the metal. So pi bond tends to decrease electron density on the metal, whereas sigma bond will increase electron density on the metal. The formation of pi bond or back bonding increases the strength of metal carbon monoxide or CO bond. Okay. So that will account for the carbon monoxide. We acts as what? Weak Lewis base. Okay. But forms very strong complex with transition metals. Even though it acts as a weak Lewis base, it will form strong complexes with one transition metals. Alright. Next line. Now we see evidence in support of back bonding. What are the various evidences in support of back bonding? Okay. First evidence is evidence from bond length. The formation of back bonding from metal to carbon monoxide is expected to increase the metal carbon bond strength with corresponding weakening of carbon oxygen bond, triple bond. Okay. When metal carbon bond increases, automatically this will weaken one carbon oxygen bond. Okay. So this bond becomes one weak. This is due to the fact that electrons from back bonding fill the antibonding molecular orbitals of carbon. Why this bond becomes weak? Because of one, the electrons will fill in the antibonding molecular orbitals of carbon monoxide. Okay. As a result, the bonding ability of carbon monoxide will decrease. So because of this, bonding ability of carbon monoxide will decreases. The metal carbon bond becomes stronger. That means what? CO triple bond becomes weaker. Okay. Now it has been observed that bond length in carbon monoxide molecule is 1.128 angstrom and the metal carbonyl bond length is 1.15 angstrom. Okay. Next slide. Now second evidence. Now what is the second evidence? That is dipole moment. The back bonding from metal to carbon monoxide molecule results in decrease in electron density on the metal. You know that back bonding results in what? Decrease in the electron density on the metal. Okay. So that will be supported by what? Dipole moment data. Now what is the dipole moment of metal carbon bond? It is 0.5 D. D means debye units, which is very low. Okay. Next, evidence from infrared spectroscopy. Infrared spectroscopy also gives evidence for back bonding in metal carbonyls. Okay. The vibrational spectra is characterized by frequency of vibration, which is related to force constant K, as frequency will be related to force constant K by this formula. What is the formula? Nu is equal to 1 by 2 pi into square root of K by mu. Okay. What is mu? It is the reduced mass of bonded atoms M and M. Okay, and is given by M1 and M2. It is M means M1. Other atom M2. Okay. So mu is equal to M1 M2 divided by M1 plus M2. The force constant is a measure of bond strength or bond order. So it will measure what? Bond strength and bond order. Okay. The larger the force constant, the stronger is the bond. So if you have force constant more, means stronger is the bond. Okay. And higher is the vibrational frequency, because this comes in the numerator, right? So when K is more, higher is the frequency, that means bond is the stronger bond. Okay. Next slide. Now what are the various structures of mononuclear metal carbonyls? Tetracarbonyl like tetracarbonyl nickel have tetrahedral structure. So this molecule tetracarbonyl nickel has got tetrahedral structure. You can see here a nickel atom at the center, 4 carbon monoxide ligands or CO ligands will be on the 4 edges. Okay, looks like tetrahedral model. Pentacarbonyls have one trigonal bipyramidal structure. You can see here pentacarbonyls have got trigonal bipyramidal structure. So this is trigonal bipyramidal structure. Hexacarbonyls have got regular octahedral structure. You can see here example for a hexacarbonyl CrCO 6 times. Okay, so this has got octahedral structure. All right. Now let us see industrial applications of organometallic compounds. What are the industrial applications of organometallic compounds? So there are a number of industrial applications. Examples, these are the examples. First one is as Wilkinson's catalyst in the hydrogenation of alkenes. So in the hydrogenation alkenes, Wilkinson's catalyst is used. What is Wilkinson's catalyst? Rhodium, RH. Okay, and then chlorine, triphenylphosphine, okay, triphenylphosphine 3 times, PPH3 twice, and then as a catalyst in hydroformylation of alkenes, okay, which is the catalyst used? HCO, this is cobalt, this is carbonyl ligand, tetracarbonyl, okay, cobalt. So hydroformylation alkenes. Next, another industrial application is Vacuous oxidation of ethene to acetaldehyde, okay. Then other one is Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. Now let us see one by one all these industrial applications. Alright, next slide. Now first one, Wilkinson's catalyst. What is the Wilkinson catalyst? PPH3 tris RHCl. What is the IUPAC name of that? Chlorotris, okay, triphenyl tris 3 times, therefore tris, triphenyl PH3, okay, triphenylphosphine. So this phosphorus, okay, it is a derivative of phosphine. Phosphine is PH3, instead of H3 you have PH3, okay. Triphenylphosphine, rhodium, RH, rhodium in the oxidation state 1, okay. So it is the effective homogeneous catalyst in solution of benzene for hydrogenation of alkenes. So in the hydrogenation of alkenes, okay, it is used as a catalyst in the presence of solvent as benzene, okay. And this reaction will take place at room temperature under pressure. So alkene general formula is given here, C double bond C, alright, plus hydrogen in the presence of Wilkinson's catalyst here mentioned, okay, above the arrow mark, and which is the solvent used? Benzene, okay, C6H6. What temperature? Room temperature, okay, and pressure. Now alkene will be formed, that means this double bond will break, okay, double bond will break and single bond is formed. So this hydrogen will add to alkene molecule, so that you get what? Saturated compound, unsaturated compound converted into saturated compound, okay, that is alkane. Alright. Now what is the mechanism, okay, of this Wilkinson's catalyst reaction? So the mechanism consists of 5 steps, okay, the mechanism consists of 5 steps. Let us see one by one. What is the first step? First step involves the reversible loss of one triphenyl, okay, one triphenylphosphine ligand. The ligand is replaced by a solvent molecule to form the product B, okay. Next slide. Second step is called oxidation addition. So here addition of hydrogen to, okay, Wilkinson's catalyst, that is in the presence sulfur, because here sulfur has been replaced, that means the ligands have been replaced by one sulfur, RHCl S2, okay, PPH3 twice, okay, sulfur has been here substituted. So takes place and solvent molecule S is released. So solvent molecule is released, okay. So S is solvent, okay, that is released. So you get what? Intermediate product, that is C, okay, intermediate product C will be formed. Alright. So here oxidation state of rhodium increases from +1 to +3, okay, +1 to +3. The coordination number of central rhodium increases from 4 to 5. Hence this step is known as oxidative addition or oxide reaction, okay, oxidative addition or oxide reaction. It is a reversible reaction in which the first role of the catalyst to break HH bond is fulfilled, okay. Now third step, step 3. What is the third step? It is called coordination of alkene. The alkene molecule, okay, will coordinate to the potential vacant site of the 5 coordinated dihydrido complex to form 6 coordinated species D. Alright. So in this step, metal rhodium has weakened the double bond of alkene by coordination and brought the alkene and hydrogen atoms into close proximity, okay, so that they can react. Alright. Next, the fourth step is called what? Insertion reaction. In this step, the insertion of alkene to rhodium hydrogen bond takes place to give RH, that is rhodium alkane derivative, that is E, okay, that is E. Now this is the reaction mechanism represented diagrammatically, okay. L is ligand, S is solvent, okay. This is the diagram. Next line. Step 5. What is the step 5? Reductive elimination reaction. So what happens in this step? In this step, metal rhodium is reduced from +3 to +1 state and its coordination number decreases from 6 to 4. Okay, coordination number decreases from 6 to 4. The product alkane, so product it is not alkene, product alkane is formed by elimination. You get alkane, okay, finally you get alkane by what? Elimination. The different steps involved in catalytic cycle are shown, okay, already shown in the previous slide. So Wilkinson's catalyst can be used for the hydrogenation of isolated double and or triple bonds at atmospheric temperature and pressure. Hence, it is an important catalyst in pharmaceutical industries for making specific drugs in spite of the high cost of the catalyst. Even though cost of the catalyst is high, it is used in pharmaceutical industries. Alright. So, I will stop at this stage. Okay. So, please go through all this slide. Alright. So, any difficulty, please contact me. So, once the offline classes starts, I will do this, okay, this mechanism especially once again. Okay, thank you.